The year is 1882. Turin, Italy. A man stands alone in a cramped apartment, staring at words he has just written. Friedrich Nietzsche, philosopher, prophet of a coming darkness. The ink is still wet on the page. 3 words that would echo through centuries. God is dead. Not a celebration, a diagnosis. A recognition that the foundations of meaning itself were crumbling beneath Western civilization. What happens when everything you believed collapses? When every value, every truth, every purpose dissolves into nothing? This is not a story about darkness for darkness's sake. This is the story of an idea that shattered the world. An idea that questions everything. An idea that, once unleashed, cannot be ignored. This is the history of nihilism. Long before the term existed, the concept lingered in the shadows of human thought. Ancient Greece, 5th century BCE, the sophists walked through Athens, challenging every assumption their students held. Truth was relative, morality was constructed, knowledge itself might be impossible. Gorgias declared that nothing exists. And even if something did exist, we could not know it. And even if we could know it, we could not communicate it. The seeds were planted, but civilization was not ready to confront them. Buddhism emerged in the East, teaching that all phenomena are empty of inherent existence. Shunyata, the void, not as despair but as liberation. In Europe, Christian mystics spoke of the via negativa, the path of negation, stripping away all concepts to approach the divine. Even in denial, the void beckoned. But nihilism as we know it needed a different soil. It needed the Enlightenment. It needed reason to sharpen itself until it cut through everything, including itself. The word appears in 1799. Friedrich Heinrich Jacobi, German philosopher, uses it first. Nihilismus. He hurls it as an accusation against the rationalists, particularly Fichte's idealism. Your philosophy leads to nothing, he says. Your reason destroys everything it touches. It leaves nothing standing. Jacobi meant it as a warning. He did not realize he had named something inevitable. The term spread slowly through German intellectual circles. By the 1830s and 1840s it appears in literary criticism, in political discourse. But it remains vague, undefined, a ghost looking for a body. Then comes 1862, Russia. Ivan Turgenev publishes a novel titled Fathers and Sons. The protagonist, Bazarov, declares himself a nihilist. He rejects all authority, all tradition, all principles not based on empirical science. The character captures something electric in the air of his time. Young Russians seize the label. The nihilists emerge as a movement, not philosophers in armchairs, but radicals in the streets. They reject religion, monarchy, social conventions. They cut their hair short, dress plainly, study science. Some turn to revolutionary action. The word transforms from abstract concept to political identity. But the true philosophers of nihilism were already working in the shadows. Germany, 1818. Arthur Schopenhauer publishes The World as Will and Representation. The book goes almost unnoticed. It will take decades for the world to catch up to his vision. But in those pages lies something revolutionary and terrible. Reality itself, Schopenhauer argues, is blind will. Not consciousness, not reason, not God. Just endless, meaningless striving. Every creature exists only to perpetuate existence. Life devours life in an infinite cycle. We suffer because we want. We want because we live. The only escape is the negation of will itself. Existence is suffering. Hope is illusion. The best we can achieve is resignation. This is not merely pessimism. This is philosophical nihilism crystallizing. Schopenhauer looks at the universe and sees no purpose, no justice, no inherent meaning. Human life is a cosmic accident, consciousness a curse. Yet Schopenhauer offers something nihilism usually denies: aesthetic experience as temporary salvation. Music, art, contemplation, these can briefly lift us from the wheel of suffering. Not redemption, just reprieve. His work plants deep roots. Decades later, another voice will amplify his vision into something far more radical. Denmark, same era. Søren Kierkegaard writes frantically under pseudonyms, wrestling with different perspectives on existence. He sees it too. The abyss, the absence of objective meaning. the vertigo of freedom. He calls it despair, the sickness unto death. Modern man stands before infinite possibilities with no ground beneath his feet. Science has explained the world, but cannot tell us how to live. Reason has analyzed everything, but cannot provide purpose. Kierkegaard's solution is radical subjectivity, the leap of faith. Choose God not because reason demands it, but despite reason's silence. Make meaning through commitment, through passion, through the absurd decision to believe. He is not a nihilist, but he maps the territory nihilism will occupy. He shows how easily meaning collapses when you rely on objective foundations. His work is a desperate attempt to bridge the void before it swallows everything. The bridge will not hold. Now we return to that apartment in Turin. To those three words, God is dead. Friedrich Nietzsche writes it first in The Gay Science, then echoes it in Thus Spoke Zarathustra. But the phrase is misunderstood. He is not celebrating. He is announcing a catastrophe. For 2,000 years, Christianity provided the framework of meaning for Western civilization. Even those who doubted God lived in a world shaped by Christian values. Morality, purpose, the arc of history, all derived their meaning from this foundation. But modernity killed God. Science replaced miracles with natural laws. Historical criticism revealed the Bible as human document. Philosophy exposed the logical gaps in theological arguments. The Enlightenment lit a fire it could not control. God is dead, and we have killed him. Nietzsche sees what others refuse to acknowledge. Without God, all absolute values dissolve. Morality becomes arbitrary. Truth becomes perspective. Meaning becomes illusion. The entire edifice of Western thought collapses into nihilism. This is passive nihilism, the recognition that nothing has inherent meaning. It leads to despair, to resignation, to the last man who blinks and says, "What is love? What is creation? What is longing? What is a star?" and cannot answer. But Nietzsche refuses to stop there. He envisions active nihilism, the willingness to destroy false idols, the courage to create new values, the Übermensch, the Overman, who affirms life despite its meaninglessness, who makes meaning through will and creation. Nihilism is not the end. It is a transition, a necessary destruction before new possibilities can emerge. His vision is intoxicating. It is also dangerous. The 20th century will demonstrate just how dangerous. While Nietzsche writes in isolation, Russia burns with nihilistic fervor. The 1860s and 1870s see the rise of revolutionary nihilism, inspired by thinkers like Nikolai Chernyshevsky and Dmitry Pisarev. Young radicals embrace materialism, atheism, utilitarianism. They reject all traditional authorities. Religion is superstition. The family is oppression. Art must serve social progress or be destroyed. Some turn to terrorism. The group Narodnaya Volya assassinates Tsar Alexander II in 1881. They justify violence as necessary destruction of corrupt systems. If there are no absolute moral laws, if God does not exist, then revolutionary ethics becomes the only ethics. Dostoevsky watches in horror. He writes The Possessed, later known as Demons, a feverish novel depicting nihilism as a disease consuming the soul of Russia. His characters murder, betray, descend into madness, all in the name of rational principles and social progress. In The Brothers Karamazov, the character Ivan articulates the logical conclusion: if there is no God and no immortality, then everything is permitted. Without transcendent meaning, without ultimate justice, moral restraints are merely social constructs. The strong can do as they will. Dostoevsky means this as warning. Others will hear it as liberation. The ideas remain theoretical until they collide with history. The First World War shatters the illusion of progress. Millions die in muddy trenches for nothing. The old order collapses. God, king, fatherland. All the grand narratives bleed out in industrial slaughter. Artists and intellectuals embrace nihilism explicitly now. Dada emerges, creating anti-art, mocking meaning itself. Literature fractures into fragments. The lost generation writes of alienation and purposelessness. Then come the totalitarianisms. Nazism and Stalinism, different in ideology but united in their willingness to sweep away all traditional values in pursuit of a new order. They create meaning through will and violence. They demonstrate what can happen when nihilism meets political power. After the Second World War, after the Holocaust, after the atomic bomb, nihilism becomes impossible to ignore. How do you find meaning in a world capable of such horror? How do you trust grand narratives after they led to death camps and cities turned to ash? Existentialism rises as an attempt to answer. Sartre, Camus, de Beauvoir, they accept that existence has no inherent meaning, but insist we must create meaning through our choices, through our commitments, through rebellion against the absurd. Camus tells the story of Sisyphus, condemned to roll a boulder up a hill forever. The labor is meaningless. The situation is absurd. Yet Camus concludes, we must imagine Sisyphus happy. We must create meaning in defiance of meaninglessness. This is sophisticated nihilism, wrestled into something livable. Not denial of the void, but the choice to live despite it. What exactly is nihilism? The term encompasses multiple forms. Metaphysical nihilism holds that nothing actually exists. Not just that existence is meaningless, but that existence itself might be an illusion. The void is literal. Epistemological nihilism denies the possibility of knowledge. We cannot truly know anything. All claims to truth are equally unfounded. Reason itself collapses. Moral nihilism rejects all ethical principles. There is no objective right or wrong. All moral systems are human inventions, equally valid or invalid. Murder and charity carry the same moral weight. None. Existential nihilism, perhaps the most common form, holds that life has no inherent purpose or value. We are cosmic accidents. The universe is indifferent. Our existence means nothing in the grand scheme. Political nihilism seeks to destroy existing social and political structures, seeing them as illegitimate and oppressive. Revolutionary violence becomes justifiable as creative destruction. These forms overlap and diverge, but they share a common core: the rejection or absence of meaning, value, truth, or existence itself. The question becomes, can humans live with this? Should they? The 21st century does not escape nihilism, it metastasizes. Consumer culture offers a shallow response: fill the void with products, with entertainment, with constant stimulation. Meaning through consumption, purpose through lifestyle brands. The last man Nietzsche warned about, comfortable and empty. The internet amplifies both sides. Information overload makes knowledge seem worthless. Endless perspectives flatten into relativism. Truth becomes whatever gets the most engagement. Meaning drowns in noise, yet simultaneously we see desperate searches for meaning. The rise of fundamentalisms, of conspiracy theories, of radical political movements. People grasping for certainty in an uncertain world. Sometimes these searches lead to community and purpose. Sometimes they lead to violence and fanaticism. Depression and anxiety rates climb. The World Health Organization reports mental health crises globally. Some researchers attribute this to meaning deficits, to lives lacking purpose and connection. Nihilism is public health crisis. But there are counter-movements. Mindfulness practices derived from Buddhism teach acceptance of emptiness. Effective altruism tries to create meaning through measurable good. People build communities, create art, fight for causes, love deeply. All acts of meaning, making in a meaningless universe. The question remains open. Is nihilism a disease to be cured, or a truth to be integrated? Here is the deepest puzzle of nihilism. The moment you articulate it, you undermine it. To say nothing matters is to make a claim about the nature of reality. But if nothing matters, why does this claim matter? Why bother saying it? Why bother arguing for it? To live consistently as a nihilist would mean complete paralysis. No reason to eat, to breathe, to continue existing. Yet nihilists continue. They write books arguing for nihilism's truth. They value their own perspectives. They want others to understand. This reveals something profound. Humans cannot help but create meaning. Even in denying meaning, we make it. The very act of conscious existence generates value and purpose, if only locally and temporarily. Nietzsche understood this. His active nihilism was not about accepting meaninglessness passively. It was about recognizing that all meaning is created, not discovered, and then embracing the creative task. We are meaning-making creatures. Nihilism is the recognition of this fact, not its negation. Perhaps the history of nihilism is really the history of humanity coming to terms with its own nature. We are animals who need purpose, living in a universe that provides none. The tension between these facts generates philosophy, religion, art, science, all our attempts to bridge the gap. Nihilism tears away comforting illusions. What we do with that clarity defines us. Nietzsche died in 1900. His mind collapsed into madness. His final years were spent in silence, cared for by family, unaware of the storm his ideas would create. More than a century later, we live in the world his writings anticipated, a world after God, a world where meaning is not given but made, a world where nihilism is not an aberration but a permanent possibility, a shadow that follows every certainty. The old answers do not satisfy. Return to religion feels like denial. Embrace of consumerism feels like distraction. Pure reason provides no values, only analysis. Yet life continues. People love, they create, they struggle, they find moments of transcendence, they build and destroy and rebuild. Meaning emerges from the meaningless like patterns in static, temporary but real. The history of nihilism is not finished. It evolves with each generation that confronts the void. Each person who asks, why am I here? What should I do? What matters? The answers change. The question remains. Some call nihilism the deepest problem of philosophy. Others call it liberation from false idols. Some see it as disease, others as diagnosis. Perhaps it is all these things. What is certain? We cannot unsee what nihilism reveals. The foundations are gone. We stand over the abyss. The only question is what we do next. Do we create meaning in defiance of meaninglessness? Do we accept the void with quiet resignation? Do we rage against the dying of inherited truths? Do we find new truths or learn to live without them? The future is unwritten. The answers are ours to make or unmake. If all meaning is constructed, if values are human creations, if existence has no inherent purpose, does that make life more precious or less? Does recognizing our cosmic insignificance diminish our human significance? Or does it finally free us to determine our own significance? Can we truly flourish in a world after meaning, or are we condemned to suffer the weight of absolute freedom? The history of nihilism has no conclusion, only continuations. The question transforms with each person who asks it, but it never disappears. What will you do with your answer?